His Royal Highness, Excellencies, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm Jonny, Vaughan, the CEO of Lilongwe Wildlife Trust, and I'm currently standing here very proud of what I've witnessed tonight. Thank you all for listening so attentively to the presentations. I felt admiration, of course, tonight, but I've also got a real sense of hope for the future of Malawi's wildlife, and that really is the take-home message that I want all you to take with you too. But before I summarise any further, I'm going to start with a few extremely well-deserved thank yous. Firstly, thanks to Born Free and to Tusk and to Save the Elephants and the Olsen Animal Trust. To have organisations of your stature and standing with us here tonight is, well, it's incredible for us, and we thank you for partnering with us and supporting us for so long. Thanks too to the LWT team. I say team because we're a small outfit, and the team consisted of one person, Kate, and she worked tirelessly to pull this event together tonight. And her efforts were mirrored by the fantastic OAT team. You've heard they sponsored this event at this wonderful, pretty much unbelievable for us location. But especially Sue and Polly, they put in endless hours of event preparations, fine detailings, even pep talks, particularly to me, to ensure that it went well. And Sue will probably not like this, but we actually have a gift for her, and she's going to have to come up, not say anything, and then, but at least come up and collect it and get a round of applause. So please come up, Sue. Okay, thanks also to all the speakers, to Deborah and Michael, Dudu, Welly, Will, Amanda, Charlie, and His Excellency, Kenna and Ponda. And lastly, a big thank you to each and every member of this audience for being here, wanting to be part of this, part of our journey. It means a huge amount to us guys on the ground to have you here supporting us tonight. So, yeah, big thanks. Okay, so how do we start? Well, if I think about it, I suppose I find it actually kind of remarkable that this has actually happened, and that so many people have shown such an interest in conservation in Malawi. I've certainly found it very moving and touching, seeing everyone here tonight and seeing the work of my fantastic team and appreciating the support of our partners. And that's because Malawi has been for too long in the background insofar as conservation is concerned. There have been other bigger, better known players which have held centre stage, and probably rightfully so. But things are changing, and as we've seen tonight, Malawi is no longer a follower. It's fast becoming, in my opinion, a shining example of what can be achieved in Africa with a progressive and collaborative approach to conservation. And what's as encouraging for me is seeing that the country is now starting to receive the international support, the recognition that it rightly deserves, based on its merits, based on the strength of the country's achievements. And as we've seen tonight, there have been lots of achievements for everyone to be proud of. In the past year alone, we've heard of several examples, and that's included the creation of Malawi's first specialised wildlife crime investigation units. We've seen the passing of a new Wildlife Act in line with the strongest legislation in the region, which incidentally and very proudly was passed in record time by the Malawi Parliament with overriding universal support across all parties. We've also seen record numbers of schools signing up to deliver conservation education and record numbers of animal releases, rescues and releases. And we've also witnessed the introduction of the private-public litigation scheme for wildlife crime, which as far as we know is unique for the region. And in addition to these, there are many other examples. which we can't take credit for, but show that Malawi are taking very large progressive steps forwards for conservation. There's been the establishment of the Interagency Committee to Combat Wildlife Crime, a signed trans-frontier conservation agreement with Zambia, and the country has also permitted the private management of several of the country's most important protected areas. And unlike the UK, which as recently as Monday, I think, was still debating the topic, Malawi, one of the poorest countries in the world, has already implemented a total ban on the domestic trade of ivory. That's a very commendable feat when considering, as we've heard tonight from both Will and Charlie, that our own government is still dilly-dallying over this matter. And the even better news, or the great news really, that really makes me very, very pleased and proud to go to work every day, is that these initiatives are having genuine conservation impact. There's been, as we saw from Wellington, more arrests of ivory traffickers in the past 7 months than in the preceding 7 years. And I think we're responsible, in partnership with others, for over 100 arrests of ivory traffickers in 2016 alone. The sentencing for those ivory traffickers has shifted, as we saw, from a mere slap on the wrist, a $40 fine, to custodial sentences of several years. And we've also heard that convictions are breaking new ground for Malawi. There's been the first custodial sentence for rhino horn trading, and the first imprisonment of police officers, government officials, and finally foreign nationals for their involvement in wildlife trafficking. But the best news of all for all of us is that certain numbers of certain species in Malawi, including elephants, are now beginning to stabilise. And ultimately, that is the best marker of progress. And progress was absolutely essential. Essential because earlier we were shown the magnitude of Malawi's role in the global illicit wildlife trade, and we were shown it's extremely significant. It's a country of primary concern, as pointed out by Dudu, and a country which has lost thousands of elephants and been implicit in the trading of tons of blood ivory, including, nonetheless, the world's largest seizure, which was that 2002 shipment that was confiscated in Singapore. But what we were also shown tonight was that, and this is the real take-home message, that, in spite of almost other unlimited challenges, extreme poverty, economic crises, natural disasters, the list is a few, the response of Malawi to this new wildlife crisis has been swift, it's been substantial, and it shows no sign of waning. So much so that many believe, especially me, that Malawi is now an emerging leader in the fight against wildlife crime, not just in Africa, but a voice to be heard globally. The country deserves a huge amount of credit, therefore, for making such inspirational steps forward. Now, something else I found especially inspiring whilst working in Malawi for over 7 years now is the country's genuine collaborative approach towards conservation, and we've seen many examples of that tonight. Such collaborations have been crucial for us making giant leaps forward. And earlier we heard about our own partnerships with the police, the wildlife authorities, the Director of Public Prosecutions. And it's those partnerships and several others that we have which have been essential for us to achieve our shared ambitions. But outside of these public-private partnerships, we've also been able to maintain, been permitted to maintain that all-important independence that allows us to operate freely and effectively as a grassroots NGO. And that ultimately has enabled us to help drive the results we've witnessed here tonight. Outside of LWT, Malawi has also seen how collaborations have significantly improved conservation efforts in Malawi. We have representatives here tonight of African Parks, Peace Parks and IFOR. And government partnerships with those organisations have brought some of the most important habitats and the biggest wildlife populations inside national parks under more effective protection. This is a huge success story in itself, but again demonstrates Malawi's firm commitment to conserve its natural heritage and conserve it in partnership. This collaborative approach sets, in my opinion, examples for others to follow. No one on earth can tackle the complex challenges of wildlife crime and conservation by themselves. No country will succeed on their own. The days of thinking that it's all under control in an isolated, protected site are over, and it's only through genuine, transparent, local, national, regional, and international collaborations and partnerships that we will together win this fight, and that we will together end the needless suffering and halt the declines towards extinction. And certainly LWT would have achieved very little without the collaboration and support of our partners. And a network of support such as this is crucial. As we've seen tonight, many have stepped forward tonight, and that's been wonderful. But it's crucial because wildlife criminal networks do not respect boundaries or borders themselves. And so our work with like-minded NGOs in neighbouring countries and in Malawi and overseas makes us at the very least competitive against these syndicates. Because while we focus on Malawi, it's our international partners who step forward, not just with funding, but also with technical support, the benefit of their expertise, and most importantly, they link us or connect us to brilliant, like-minded people around the world, people who share our vision and our hope, people like all of you in the room tonight. Now, we have a long way to go, we know that, and I admit that the success so far is fragile, insofar that it still requires sustained support. But tonight has really given us guys on the ground encouragement and a big boost, a shot in the arm. The sense of willingness shown here, the people I spoke to tonight, before, during, and hopefully after the event, is inspirational for us. And it's affirmed my belief that Malawi's wildlife and wild places and the people whose livelihoods depend on them can make it. We will make it. And it's not that we're naive, we're not. We're well aware of the potential pitfalls ahead. But unlike many journalists who preach that the whole planet is in dire peril, that the future everywhere is extremely bleak, we actually live amongst the wildlife crime and criminality in Malawi each and every day, and yet we still feel optimistic. And yes, I understand that to some of you and others that don't live in the thick of it, that protection of Malawi's wildlife, from individual animals to entire species, could seem like a mission impossible. But if that is what you thought when you arrived tonight, before you saw these presentations and met the people who support us and work for me and our team, then I hope that your preconceptions have now been challenged, even changed by the facts that you've heard and the people that you've met this evening. Intentionally, we did not want to put on another evening of despondency and gloom, of wildlife devastation and death. There were some graphic images, but I think they served a purpose. We tried to give facts and show the tools with which a battle to protect the country's wildlife can and will be won. And it's on that basis that I'd like to end by saying that it's my genuine hope that this is just the beginning. I hope that you've all seen enough to also now believe, and I hope that you've seen enough that you will now become partners in Mission Possible Malawi, and I hope that we maintain the momentum. Okay, thank you. Okay, and lastly, we're going to end with a very short clip which conveys the level of political will inside Malawi, which again shows the level of political will inside Malawi to get rid of the heinous crimes that we've witnessed tonight. Thanks.
To all Malawians and all visitors to the warm heart of Africa, I implore you to help protect Malawi's wildlife, our natural heritage, and stop wildlife crime. Thank you for your support.